Hey, Speak Easy podcast listeners, super excited to have this conversation with you guys because I know when we talk about entrepreneurship, there's such a small window, when we think about experience wise. Some of you have never had an entrepreneur in your family, you've never connected or been connected to an entrepreneur. So you only think about the coaching, the consulting, but there are so many other avenues when it comes to entrepreneurship. And so that's why I'm excited about this particular topic and discussion for today. I'm excited to have my guest. Hello, Bryan. How are you?
I am great. So excited for the conversation. Thank you so much for having me on.
Definitely looking forward to this one because I've had the opportunity to meet so many different people who fit under the title of entrepreneur and looking at so many ways that we can make money. But before we jump into all of that, tell the studio audience a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my entrepreneurial journey is just past 19 years now. So I've been doing it a while. I started a marketing company that have quickly evolved into an employer brand company. So I run PH Creative and a tech company called Happy Dance. And we focus working with large global brands with complex talent audiences, and we help them brand themselves to attract talent. There's about 130 of us across the globe. We've got about 90 clients, and we're essentially about human experience and experience by design. So we're largely consultancy, and we have a tech element of the business as well.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so first of all, I love the name Happy Dance. Definitely stands out. But when it came to you getting into this industry, what was the significant, um, like determining factor? What was the thing that was like, you know what, this is what I want to do, and I want to do this for quite some time?
Yeah, so I was actually happy in a job. I'm a designer and a branding background, and I was in a job designing, but I had a horrible boss, and he treated me particularly bad one day. He bawled me out. He shouted at me in front of about 40 people. Didn't make me feel so good. So I just quietly let him finish, went home that day and started PH Creative the next day. And now I'm actually eternally grateful for that negative experience because I don't think I would have started the company without it. Um, and yeah, that was definitely the silver lining of at the time a negative experience. But that's what got me started. And actually for many years, we were a generalist design and marketing agency. And all of my success over the last really the last 8 years has come from finding a very specific niche and deciding, we say inch wide, mile deep. So a really specific niche, but set out to be the best in the world at that one teeny tiny thing. And that's largely where we've enjoyed most of our success ever since.
Okay, so you hit on a couple different things just in that short period of time. First of all, um, it sometimes it's listen, you get pushed out by an experience at the job. And Speakeasy podcast listeners, I know a lot of you are listening in, and some of you are still working the 9 to 5, and it may not be a 9 to 5, it may be a whatever to whatever, but you're feeling that push. And that's a very difficult place to be in sometimes because you feel like if you leave where you're at, you're leaving security.
Mhm.
So I know that that's one major thing that people are just like, oh, but if I leave, it's always if I leave, then I won't have any insurance. I won't have any health insurance. As if when we leave and walk out the door, a pterodactyl is going to drop down, swoop and pick us up, drop us, we'll break every bone in our body, and then we won't have insurance to pay for it. But the other piece was the niching down. And oh my goodness, that is one of the hardest things in entrepreneurship because when we come into it, it's the idea where I want to help everyone,
Mhm.
but we can't.
You're so right, and actually, a lot of the challenges of entrepreneurship disappear when you do choose a niche, because all it is it's about crystallizing your mind and giving you focus and confidence and clarity of what you need to do each day. And when you're building a business, that can be difficult, especially when you haven't got many clients or you're worried about where the sales are going to come from and so forth. Having something to really just focus in on is a very easy way to find purpose in the day, and purpose in the day builds purpose in the week, in the month, and suddenly you've built momentum. And if you're thinking about buying a red car, you go outside and suddenly you see red cars everywhere. When you focus on a niche, that's kind of all you see around you, and that can be a really, really good thing. But in terms of the fear of leaving a job, I do remember that. I was 26 at the time, so I still had youth on my side, less now. But a lot of what got me through the first years was naivety. So not knowing what I was facing into, and sometimes that can be an absolute blessing, because with experience can come fear. Knowledge can actually be something that can hold you back, not enable you. And I don't think I would have started a business in my situation had I have had great advice or time to think. And sometimes having no alternative or being in a terrible situation is actually a really big blessing.
Ooh, the blessing in disguise for sure. And we're not going to sidestep him saying past, because he doesn't look like a day over 30 right now. You guys can't see him. I can see him perfectly clear. And I don't think it's a filter. Yeah.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that. I don't feel it.
Oh my goodness. So I think that's significant, because with entrepreneurship, again, there are so many different unpredictable scenarios that we can come in contact with. And we always talk about the overnight success, right? But there are some moments where things can happen in a 24-hour time period,
Mm-hmm.
good or bad,
Mm-hmm.
good or bad. And it can change everything. And I think if you focus on that, then you're always going to be you're always going to be the hamster on the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really making any progress. But if you focus on the journey, you focus on, okay, what is it that I want to deliver to people? How do I want to change lives? How do I want to affect the world around me? Like, that opens up so many different opportunities. Um, I know with me personally, it's been a thing of, man, I just want to change lives. I want to help women to become unmuted. Whatever that looks like, whatever that means, let's do that. And not understanding or realizing that it was going to take me to helping women who have been through domestic violence, and women who were starting their own businesses, and women who just wanted to tell their story, and the impact, seeing the impact keeps me going.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, what has been that impactful moment that just drives you, that if you think about it right now, it would make you get up at 4 in the morning and go to sleep at 2?
Wow. So, I mean, even after a number of years, I absolutely love working with a client partner who values people in a business and really wants to articulate what it feels like, and to try and articulate the culture inside a company. And I feel that weight of responsibility, but it's really exciting to have that opportunity to go inside a large organization, really learn. So every new client partner that we work with is an opportunity to learn, and it's always different. There is no two companies exactly the same. Lots of companies have positives. Lots of companies have weaknesses. It's not good or bad. It's just different. But I get to go into all of these companies like Apple and Nike and Glassdoor and Workday and Continental and American Airlines and all of these big companies. And at the end of the day, it reminds me that we're just all groups of people trying to make our way in the world. And, it doesn't matter how big the company is or whatever, like they all have challenges. They all have harsh realities of and we're all in the same boat, but we get to learn. And then we have the privilege of trying to articulate what that employee experience is. And for me, as a sort of true creative at heart, that's what gets me up in the morning, because without employer brand, people are making life decisions when they change career. And we get to articulate what they could expect when they choose a new career path. And that can be life-changing for a lot of people. So our vision is everybody loves their job. And if we can help companies articulate the employee experience, people can make better decisions and find a sense of purpose, a sense of impact, and a sense of belonging. And that's what keeps me going.
So let's take a step back, because I know people are probably listening and going, okay, what exactly is it that he does? Because you just named all these companies and they're like, wait, what is really going on here? Uh, when you were talking, immediately, I'm going to tell you the image in my head because I'm such a creative. It's horrible, I know. But immediately I went in and I envisioned you walking in and like making people hold hands, meaning connecting one person to another. And sometimes it's through, we always talked about the team building activities, but sometimes it's more than just the team building activity. So in my mind, literally, when you were talking, that was what I envisioned, was you going in and making people hold hands. And I know that just made all the introverts out there cringe. I know.
So, I mean, I guess there's an element of that, but we go in and we'll research the culture of an organization, and we help brand companies not to find customers, but to find talent. So, most organizations, like we're working with Nike, and their slogan is "Just do it," and that inspires their customers. We're the other side of the coin, where we will brand them and come up with a tagline and a campaign and a whole raft of strategic communications to reach out to a talent audience and encourage them to apply for jobs and make career decisions. So we're the lesser known side of the branding coin, and we work with large and small organizations who put their people first and really want to invest in a brand message that makes them more attractive to the talent audience.
And I'm glad that you said that, because again, when we think about entrepreneurship, that's something that no one would ever think about.
Well, it's a niche, but lucky for me, it's now a huge niche. And I've been doing this before it was even coined, before it was even a thing. So time's been on my side there, and it just shows we invested in the niche and we stayed the course, and now it's rising in popularity. And of course, like we've been there all the time. So it's funny, some people have called us an overnight success because we're on the scene and we're working with all these global brands. But like, as you were describing it, like, yeah, we're an overnight success after 19 years of hard work, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to stay the course and believe in what you're doing.
Now, was there ever a moment where you looked around and said, I must be crazy for this?
So many times.
So many times.
Oh, absolutely. It still happens to me now. It really does. But you have good days and bad days as entrepreneurs, and I think that's one of the biggest differences. It's a very different roller coaster to employment. But I count my blessings there, because it affords me a lot of freedom. It affords me, decision making and all of those things. But I'll never forget when I was starting out in business. I didn't realize until I'd started my business, but I had a debilitating fear of public speaking. So I started to turn down sales opportunities, and I would avoid presentations or opportunities to speak to small groups that I knew if I did, I'd probably win business. So it was a real problem. So I ended up having to face that fear. And rather than do public speaking classes or anything like that, I actually took a stand-up comedy course, which was horrific at the time. But to graduate, I had to write 15 minutes of my own material and then perform live on stage at a comedy festival. And I lost about 20 pounds in weight through sheer worry. It was a hellish 6 weeks. But on the other side of it, and I didn't become a professional stand-up comedian, thank goodness. But on the other side of it, I walked off the stage a changed person, and I learned a lot about myself. And it was a life-changing moment that would only have been possible had I been on this crazy roller coaster of an entrepreneurial journey. And, I like to think I grew as a person. I learned a lot about myself.
I am So happy to hear that. People often will, that because that still is one of the top fears. The number one fear is public speaking. It's like people are like, "Well, you're an introvert. How?" Like, but I see you on stage. I see you're doing podcasts. You're doing this. And I go, well, for me, I did not take. I took a public speaking course in college, and my professor lovingly said, "This is not for you," and I agreed. But for me, it was live streaming
Mhm.
on the Periscope platform because we had to deal with trolls.
Ah, yeah.
So people coming in saying anything and everything to get you distracted, to get you upset, to make you stop, and everything and anything, and would come out of their mouth. They would talk about everything. And I said, if you could handle the trolls on Periscope, then you can handle any
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That really is. And I can imagine in real time having to think on your feet. Um, yeah, that's a real way to sort of learn quickly without a safety net. And I'd be interested because one thing through an entrepreneurial journey that I've found is it's those quiet moments of where you're proud of yourself, those little moments of achievement. And they don't have to be big things, they can be small things, but stuff where you're outside your comfort zone and you've managed to do it anyway. Um, you asked a question earlier about, what sort of the satisfaction thing. There's been some big moments of satisfaction, but actually, I think I was forgetting those little moments are probably more important. Certainly when you start off as well, because you're on a journey where you will learn so much about yourself in the first 12 months that you didn't think possible. People would not recognize you after your first 12 months. And actually, just that little bit of reassurance that, wow, I can do that. The little things that you surprise yourself with and push yourself and look back and think, I'm actually going to bed tonight proud of myself. And that's fantastic, isn't it?
That's amazing. It's those moments like I tell people with being an author, that first copy of the book when you have it in your
Oh, what a moment.
uh,
Absolutely.
and you're just like, my name is on this book.
Oh, the imposter syndrome is real. And then, you'll leave the room and maybe just go back into the room to check that your name's still on the front of the book.
That it's still there, that it didn't fade
Right?
away.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that disappearing ink
Yeah.
from the Acne brand or anything like that. So, uh, yeah, there's some really significant things. And I love that you said that. It is some of the smaller things that really do take precedence when we are on this journey and we allow ourselves to experience different things.
That's right. And you can plan your week, and by design, you can put something, one or two things in there to challenge yourself. And then you already know if you get through the week that you've just planned, you're going to have that feeling of growth and satisfaction and pride and all of that stuff. And you know what? You need it. You need those things to get through the tough times. As an entrepreneur, there are more tough days than positive days. The trick is to really appreciate and dial up the positive days to make it worth it. It's kind of like golf. Like, I'm a terrible golfer and I'll hit one great shot out of 49 terrible shots, but that one great shot is enough to keep me moving forward.
I love that. Speakeasy podcast listeners, this is going by very quickly. But this has been such an amazing conversation simply because again, the entrepreneurial journey, there is no one size fits all. For what kind of business you open, for what kind of experience you're going to have. But I try to make sure that I bring such an array of amazing people that are at different levels of success, of rebranding themselves, of loving this journey of entrepreneurship because they can definitely inspire you. So I know that there were some powerful things in here. So go ahead, hit the pause, rewind, take some notes, but definitely share this one out with someone else because this can definitely encourage that one who's at their job right now saying, okay, it's about to be the last straw. It's about to be the last straw. What do I do next? How do I move and maneuver next? And so, Bryan, if they're looking for to find out more about your company, but also to just find out more about you, how can they reach out?
Thank you. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm active on LinkedIn. So if you search for Bryan Adams PH Creative, you'll find me. Or you could look at www.ph-creative.com.
Excellent. So make sure that you go ahead and reach out. I always make sure that you have their information so that way you can go check out what else they're doing. Listen, go and follow. Success will always leave clues. And it's not always the clues of this is how I made $1 million this weekend. Sometimes it's the clues of I'm still in my relationship with my wife, and this is how. Sometimes it's the clues of my kids still love me, and this is how. Because entrepreneurship takes on so many different aspects of our life. And you guys know that's what the Speakeasy podcast is all about. That's what it's here for, to help you elevate in life and in business while you're on this journey. So with that being said, this is your host, Alcides Pelzer. I hope you guys had a great episode with me this time. And until next time, don't forget to press it out. See ya.